weekend is here, and that means a brand new episode of the Weekendology podcast is back. Thanks for joining us, everybody. This is the podcast with the hottest takes, the best talking points, and the stories to spark your weekend conversations. We cover all the latest and greatest from a variety of topics from music, movies, sports, food, and more. So if you're looking for your best weekend entertainment, you've come to the right place. As always, I'm your host, Will Deitchley, alongside the one and only Aaron Berg. Aaron, how's your week been so far? As you drop your phone. Great start to the episode.
I know.
Just discombobulated all over the place here.
That's a metaphor for how my week has been.
Exactly.
So there's the answer to your question.
I think that's a metaphor for how all of our weeks have been so far. It has been a slog through this one. And that's the only word I can describe
through
it.
The month.
Yeah, pretty
much.
much.
Past couple months at this point.
The whole front half of May, May is almost half over.
Yeah.
And that it has gone by in an instant, but each day feels like it's like, oh my goodness, I'm struggling here.
This is the podcast of change.
It is, yes.
And it makes me wonder, after this is all said and done, is this going to change how we greet each other? Are we going to still say, hey, how's it going? Because I feel like people are getting so tired of asking that and hearing the answer of oh, it's okay, because no one knows what to say.
Right.
No one's doing anything. So, or they're going to keep saying good, and everyone knows it's not really good.
People are, if they had a boring answer before, like, oh, how was your weekend?
Yeah.
It was fine. They're going to literally have the most boring answer of, I did nothing. Literally.
If you're going to say it's fine, because everyone says, how are you doing? Good.
Yeah.
If you're going to say it's fine, that means bad. Know it's like, I'm so depressed.
It's a struggle, but we're here to help you through it. Weekendology is here about entertainment. It's about change, but it's also about, kickstarting those conversations that you have over now Zoom chat or maybe dinner with your parents over Zoom.
And I still enjoy the weekends. I don't have to work.
Yeah, you don't have to work. So
the weekend is still the weekend.
Weekend is one of my favorite words in the English dictionary, so... Can't go wrong with that. Exactly.
What's your second favorite?
I don't know. Birthday, maybe?
There's 9,000 words. You don't have a second favorite?
I don't really think about my favorite words, so... Wow. All right, well, thanks for joining us for every returning listener. And if you're a newer listener, welcome to the show. Like I said, the show is all about changing, improving, and making things better as we cover all the best topics from around the pop culture and the sports world. We're continuing our collaboration with Colin Kessler and the Big Red World. They've got podcasts like The House That Rick Built and 6 Drunk, 1 Sober. So check them out. They're on Twitter at Big Red Social, and their website is bigredworld.org. Don't forget to give us a follow on Twitter as well. We're on Weekendology Pod and wherever you listen to podcasts. So drop us a line, show us your support, suggest some ideas on what you want to see changed, and we'll cover them. Don't forget to browse our last couple episodes in our mini-series on the changes of post-pandemic. We cover changes in sports, social interaction, businesses, restaurants, bars. We're running out of ideas for that mini-series, but we'll put a pin in some of that.
We can do part 2s.
Yeah,
or we can do updates.
Yeah, we'll do updates as the world somehow comes back from all of this. This episode is sponsored by Lionfish Promotions as well. So if you're
once again, sponsors.
Yeah, we're keeping the sponsorship going. So if your business or needs some cool swag to give out to employees or clients, or maybe even build your brand up, Lionfish has you covered. They offer literally every kind of item from notebooks to cups, mugs, T-shirts, blankets, anything that you can put your face or your logo on it. Lionfish has got you covered, especially now in the coronavirus era. Yes, it is now an era.
It is.
It is a long, long era that's taking forever.
It's basically 2020.
It's basically all of 2020.
I feel bad for January and February because those months are going to get forgotten in history.
Probably, yeah.
It's just going to be the coronavirus year.
Go down as the worst months of all time. So,
well, January and February were great.
Yeah,
before
March was pretty bad.
Coronavirus, yeah.
It was the lead up to it. You're ruining this ad skit here, Aaron. But in the coronavirus era of PPP items, Lionfish is working with a lot of different companies to help ship in the U.S. Like the masks and the gloves for all those first responders out there. So if you need them, check out Lionfish Promotions. They have a 24-hour ship time. They're at www.lionfishpromotions.com.
And tell them Weekendology sent you.
Exactly, yeah. Tell them that Weekendology sent you. We'd we'd very much appreciate it. It helps us grow the channel and grow the podcast.
Keep the lights on?
Keep the lights on here because, job's not doing it right now because there's nothing happening. So
need this podcast to feed my family.
Yep, I got mouths to feed and I got to put, things on the table. So this is how we do it. It is finally the weekend, Aaron, and the weekend means another episode of the long talked about documentary, The Last Dance.
I thought you were going to say the weekend means another episode of Weekendology.
I mean, it does mean another episode of Weekendology, but hey, we're talking about The Last Dance again today.
Again.
It
deserves another conversation.
It does, yes. We wanted to dive a little bit deeper into it, and we're taking a little bit further and talking about how sports and media are influencing each other. And what better way to do that than with The Last Dance, because it is by far the most talked about sports documentary I've seen in probably the last couple of years. So it's nearing its epic conclusion. It has 2 episodes to go. Is that right? This Sunday?
And they drop 2 at a time. So
yeah.
This is the last weekend of it.
There's 2 episodes left. So what's your take on it so far? Are you enjoying it?
Oh man,
thoughts? I want the whole thing.
Oh, it's amazing. Like, I'm not a Bulls fan. I'm not a Michael Jordan fan. I don't know if I couldn't remember because I didn't listen back.
We've discussed this a little bit.
Yeah, I couldn't remember what I said, so I'm probably going to repeat myself. But maybe I'll have a new opinion. I don't know. Not a Michael Jordan fan at all. Like, think he's a douche. So, I don't really care about Michael Jordan at all. Except
I have no cares about him as a person ever.
I don't. Let me say this: as a player, incredible, did amazing things for the game. Respect. As a person, douchebag. Like, I don't want to support him, but like the documentary is so good, and he is basically producing it, because he's got final say, because he thinks he's God. But
I don't know about that, but I mean, maybe he does a little bit. He's got a big ego.
It is funny because he said, people might not like me after this. It's like, dude, people are gonna they've had the opinion of you as long as you've been out of the game. So, like, that's set in stone. They're not going to change based on a 10-part documentary. But the documentary is incredible. Like, I love it. The behind-the-scenes access is so good. And I feel like even though he is cutting it up and taking parts out to benefit himself, it really gives you that inside access and that truer, I guess, insight into what the Bulls really were,
it's something
and who each player really was.
Yeah, it's something that you don't see. I mean, first of all, I'm glad it's 10 parts. It's better than just like an hour and a half or whatever long documentary like some of the 30 for 30s are.
Yeah, I'm glad they didn't just do a 2-hour movie and cut it.
I like how it jumps back and forth between the storyline of the 98 Bulls, whether it's going for that second three-peat, to chronologically it goes from like Jordan's rookie days to each time.
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
Yeah,
I don't.
They're telling 2 consecutive stories at the same time.
Can you think of a documentary, specifically? I know they've done it in like movies, but specifically a documentary. I don't think I've ever seen that.
I've never seen anything like that. No,
and it's mainly about the 97-98 season,
right?
But then you could make the argument, well, it's about Michael Jordan. Then you can make the argument, no, it's about the Bulls as a franchise.
Yeah, in that whole like 1990s time frame too.
Yeah. And that's what I really liked about it was it wasn't just, okay, we're going to tell the story about how this ended. It was how this ended, but also let's give a very long, detailed backstory to make sense of how it ended, Because a lot of people still don't really understand why did it end. And there was really no answer.
Yeah, there were a lot of tidbits in there that I didn't know. Like, I didn't know that Pippen quit on, what is it, like in the playoffs or something, or in like
when he didn't want to
games.
go in because they wouldn't give him the game.
Yeah, they wouldn't give him the shot when Jordan had retired that first time. Or I didn't know how Rodman had went to the Bulls after he won 2 championships with the Pistons, and the ins and outs of it all is so fascinating.
I didn't realize Scottie Pippen was so underpaid.
Neither did I either. I mean, he was like ranked dead last almost in pays.
I think he's like 123rd that year,
something like that. Yeah,
of all time. I was looking at a list, and it's crazy, and this shows the bias on that team, like how much Krause either didn't like him or was just so cheap and took advantage of him.
I think the reason he gave was he signed his rookie contract. He signed it for 7 years to begin with, and he was like, okay, it was 7 years, $18 million.
Yeah.
And his agent said, no, you're going to be better than that. Don't sign that long of a contract. He said, well, I can't gamble on that. I got, to pay for my brothers and sisters and parents and everything. And he had 3 family members in a wheelchair or something. So he couldn't.
Well, his brother was in a wheelchair, and then his dad had
his
stroke.
dad. Maybe it was just his brother and his dad.
Yeah, and they had 12 kids in the family, and they're
so he said,
Arkansas.
I can't risk blowing my knee out to not getting paid or something, so I just got to do this. And so that's why for so long he was only working off of $2 million a year or something, or $1 million bucks a year. So, but yeah, I think it's fascinating. Is want to ask the question is why is the Last Dance so big? And I said this in our last episode when we mentioned it casually. Is it's not marketed as like a regular documentary. It's marketed as a big budget Hollywood film. ESPN and Disney went together, and they actually went, like the producers of the show went to Lucasfilm, like the makers of Star Wars, and they got like marketing tips on how to create buzz for this.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So just like how a big Star Wars or Avengers film is marketed, they tantalize some of the audiences with trailers of the new movie or the documentary as far as 18 months in advance. Then they keep them on the hook with additional trailers 6 months, then 3 months, and then finally 1 month before its release. And so they keep doing this, and then I think it was the last trailer they aired in April or March, I guess, before it aired, it got 40 million impressions on Twitter, and there was a 98% commitment for viewers to watch the documentary.
Crazy.
So they went about that big budget Hollywood approach, and I mean, I'd say it's working so far, wouldn't you?
Well, and isn't it interesting how of all the teams and all the, I guess, sports topics, I mean, anything Michael Jordan, anything Bulls, you don't need to do that. They could have made this a 30 for 30, and it would have been the most
They could have dropped it, 3 weeks in advance, the trailer, and then like, okay, cool, I'm going to watch that or something.
Yeah, and I'll give Michael Jordan credit where his branding is incredible. I mean, the way he's branded himself and just how he's branded the Bulls, I mean, it's amazing. You mention Michael Jordan in anything, and it's been over 20 years since he's been out of the league.
Yeah, the man's a marketing genius.
Yeah, and people still eat it up like crazy. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. Do you think it was smart for them to kind of put all their eggs in one basket and pump this up that much? Or do you think they could have done that with another documentary, another topic?
I think they did the right thing because, one, the 90s Bulls are arguably the greatest dynasty in sports of all time. And then, two, I mean, you got arguably the greatest player to play basketball of all time. So when you put it together and you make this huge documentary about this, I think it's a perfect storm for
kind of match it up,
Yeah, matching it up.
It's this larger than life thing, so give it larger than life marketing.
Exactly. Now, I've heard some things like, oh, could you, would other sports greats, warrant a documentary like this as well? Like the Warriors. From,
I mean, they're going to do it. They already
day.
said they were going to do Kobe's.
Okay, yeah. So then they're Kobe or maybe Tiger Woods or something like that.
They're going to do it for everyone. It's Hollywood, and it's just like the live action remake, nonsense that they're like, oh, like we got to make 1 million of these now because one worked.
Right.
They're going to do, which I love sports documentaries, so that's like all I've watched the past week. But I'm glad that's going to be a trend, but I just hope they don't beat a dead horse with it. And if they make them good, tell the real story, do what documentaries are supposed to do.
Yeah, and I think this one is so good is because, one, it's the first of its kind. It's so unique in kind of the 10-part series, like a mini-series formats of like a TV show. But you're a big sports documentary fan. What is it about, I guess, like the rags to riches story or seeing kind of the behind-the-scenes look at our crazy, larger-than-life athletes so entertaining?
I think you said it right there. I mean, the way we think of athletes and the way I've always thought of them until I worked in sports, then I really got a sense of, okay, these guys are human beings, but the media and just our culture wants to promote them as heroes and almost like action figures. And you don't think of them as humans. And so I liked, and that's why I've always loved documentaries, because you can watch a sport and you can be really into it, watch it all the time, follow the team, all that. And to me, that only fuels your sense of they're not human. They're like real life superheroes. But you see a documentary and you really get that behind the curtain aspect. And also I like it because it gets rid of the biases. It gets rid of the storyline you might see in the media. You're only seeing that one side. And this is prevalent in The Last Dance. It's telling from Jerry Krause's side, who he got a bad rap, and whether you agree with him or not, it tells, views of from the players, what they thought of Jerry Krause, but it gives enough that they can give, since he's no longer here, but it gives enough from his past interviews of why he did certain things.
Right, yeah.
And explains his side as best they can. So I like that too, because it doesn't just give, this is the facts, this is what happened. It gives all the different parts to a story, and I think that's important.
The director of it, I can't remember his name, but he's done a great job of eliminating certain bias from here to there. I mean,
you can tell it's not just a Bulls fan who made it.
He's told the story from like Isaiah Thomas's point of view as to what happened during the Pistons. He's told it from Krause's point of view as well. I mean, obviously it's about Michael Jordan primarily, but I like seeing how Scottie Pippen giving his insights, or Steve Kerr.
Yeah. Or they just have role players like Bill Wennington is in it, and Horace Grant,
and Tony Kukoc as well.
They get everybody. They don't just focus on the big three and Phil Jackson. That's it. They get all the B.J. Armstrong. They get all these points of views in different eras too. So you're getting views from, this is how it was in the 80s. This is how it was in the 90s. This is what happened during this big story, and then this other big story, and they get all the relevant characters in the story.
So do you think this could go down as like the best sports documentary of all time?
Oh yeah, I mean,
you think so? Better than the OJ one, that 30 for 30 one they did a couple years ago?
That one was really good too. ESPN is great at making documentaries. I'm a huge fan. I hate Bill Simmons, but he was the driver for the 30 for 30 series.
Yeah,
it's incredible. I mean, all of them are great. The OJ one, the Made in America.
Made in America one,
That's one, yeah. That's incredible. But, I'd say this one is because, like we talked about, how it goes from 97, 98, and then goes to the 80s, and then goes back, and then it just goes back and forth to explain why things led to how they ended.
Yeah, and I think there's such a huge influence from how sports is run, and then how media is run, too. I mean, obviously the greatness of that era of basketball for the Bulls translates into the greatness of this documentary, and the fever of the OJ case translates into how good, entertaining this documentary is. I mean,
you can feel the passion behind it.
Yeah, you can feel I wasn't alive during the OJ era, but I'm sure it was probably
you were alive
during the OJ era.
It was 94.
Oh yeah, maybe. I was 2 years old.
The era of him in court?
Yeah, in court, going through the whole thing of him killing and driving the white Bronco down the highway.
Yeah, it was 94. So
so I was 2 years old then. I wasn't cognizant of what was happening. Right. But I'm sure people back then were like, wow, this is like a movie playing out in real life. And I'm sure that's what the documentary talked about too. And I think it's incredible how both of them play off of each other so much. And obviously, sports is such a huge part of our culture. But, you have social media, you have TV, there's ESPN, there's news analysis, draft coverage, pregame, midgame, halftime, postgame. Sports coverage makes up about a third of our nation's news consumption, which is crazy. It was politics, and then sports, and then pop culture, movies and singers and all that kind of stuff. So sports is truly part of our, like a rock. What's the word I'm looking for?
That's our culture.
the bedrock of our
culture. The
bedrock. I couldn't think of the darn name of it though. But what is it that we're so fixated on consuming the best tidbits from arbitrary stats, or talking about LeBron versus Jordan for the 1 millionth time? Why is that so entertaining for us?
You just got the Young Money song in my head now. I can make you bedrock, girl.
Oh dang!
No, that's all I
Copyright
keep thinking
issue?
of now. No, it's a cover, man.
Cover. I'm kidding.
What was your question?
We're constantly fixated on just consuming as much sports news as possible. We're starved for it, and what makes it so entertaining that we have to have the debate of LeBron versus Jordan again, or seeing all these crazy, stupid stats? You know?
I think it goes back into, the fact that these guys, we don't think of them as humans. I think it makes that argument, we put so much emphasis on people's legacy and these things that aren't really real. You can sit and watch something and you've seen it, but we love to have these debates or these talks about, okay, well, let's look at their career from point A to point B and analyze it, which
right.
in the scheme of things, it doesn't really matter,
But everybody loves talking about
right. It adds to the entertainment. I think
I love the fantasy shows too, because people will watch those fantasy shows and they'll be like, okay, well, this guy said this and this random stat, points to
we
this.
just love to analyze.
Yeah, we love to be a couch quarterback, armchair coach,
and I think too that goes into why these documentaries are so important, because I watched another one recently called "The Best That Never Was." Very good documentary. It's about Marcus Dupree, who went to University of Oklahoma, football player in the 80s. One of the most highly recruited high school players ever from Mississippi. And he got so much scrutiny in the media. And this is the 80s, so I can't imagine what he'd have now. But just so much. And this story was told about him like, oh, he doesn't hustle and he doesn't care. And he quit on the team. And then he went to the USFL when that was starting up and he got injured. And people just scrutinized this kid so much, basically ended his career. I mean, he eventually did make the NFL with the Rams for a couple years. So it was a cool comeback story. But just a story from the media at that time, it was so misleading. And if you watch this documentary, I mean, was some of it his fault? Sure. But when you really take into consideration, he's 19.
Yeah.
And the pressure.
He's a kid.
Right. And just all these factors. I mean, watching this documentary is so eye-opening because it really shows, and it even has the coach at the time, what was his name? OU coach from Barry Switzer.
Oh.
They have him in the documentary, and he even admits, I was too hard on him. I probably did this wrong, did that wrong. I would have changed this. I mean, he would have never admitted that to the media back then. One of the greatest college coaches of all time.
That's so crazy how you can kind of get like the full story.
Yeah, and that's what I loved about it. Everyone needs to watch this documentary.
What's it called again?
The Best That Never Was.
Best That Never Was.
30 for 30, because it is so. It tells the true story and it explains every part. And then Marcus Dupree is in it. He can tell his story. His friends can tell his story. Barry Switzer can tell his story. And you're getting the full circle. And that's what I feel like that's so good about documentaries in general, but also the Bulls documentary is you're getting the full story that you didn't get when this stuff was going down because you could just get it from the media.
I think it's so interesting how the documentaries get such inside, unprecedented access to these players.
Yeah, and especially at the times.
People.
I mean, the 80s.
Exactly. But even
crazy.
Any documentary in general, you get, like you said, the full story to it. And, there's positives and negatives, for both the documentaries and for media on sports as well. I mean, like you said, you can intrude on some of the performers' privacy with it, undermine people's confidence and maybe in their careers. Maybe showcase, I guess, some of the bias or negative values that they have.
You can make a documentary.
Yeah.
I mean, Michael Moore does it all the time. You can make a documentary however you want. So I'm not saying it's foolproof, but I'm glad that more of these are coming out. And the way they're doing them seems to tell the whole story.
Yeah, and the positives, I think, far outweigh the negatives with it. I mean, you can raise awareness of the sport. You can show a great story, tell that great story of that person from rags to riches, show their values, who they are as a person, not only as an athlete, too.
I like, too, the reason behind things. If Michael Jordan playing baseball, you're getting my whole life. Because I was so young and I don't really remember it, I can just read about these things and I still don't understand, like, why would you do that?
I never understood, like, why would you quit and go and play baseball when you're the best basketball player of all time?
That made me, having not really witnessed it, when I'm just thinking about history and him, it affected the way I think of him. But now when I've seen it, and now I'm like, okay, I get it, makes sense.
He was burnt out. He said he had accomplished
sense.
Everything that he had set out to do.
And his dad was murdered. I mean, There's so much going into that I think, and at the time they weren't giving him that credit. They were just like, oh, he quit. How could you do that? Which that's a great storyline, but again, these are so important to, yes, you can have an opinion of someone's decision, but to explain the whole circle of there's so many moving parts, there's levels to everything of why things happen.
Right.
That's really important to get out to the public.
Yeah, and it's crappy. Like, that's one of the more negatives of it was the press, fed into the negative things that were happening in Jordan's life, and then ultimately drove him. Some think they drove him out of the game. He was like, okay, I'm done with it.
Well, why they broke up the Bulls?
Yeah.
I mean, that's another thing where it still doesn't really make sense to me. Why would you break this team up? They're fresh off a three-peat.
Yeah, I mean,
but
there's
now
no way
you're getting more of the story. Okay, that's why.
Yeah, Jerry Krause I think, had his own complex with everything, and he didn't want to be the smallest man in the room, so to speak. So he's like, well, I'm going to break it up, show everybody that I can do it again, and the Bulls then declined into mediocrity for the next 10, 15 years. So.
But it's interesting because Jerry Krause gets a lot of heat for that, but Michael Jordan did that. That's why he came back with the Wizards.
True.
I think that, and that's why these are so cool, because it can get people to form their opinions and then kind of take sides and debate it in a sense. But I just think I don't know. I'm on the fence with Jerry Krause because I think it's stupid to break up that team, obviously, and he deserves heat. But at the same time, everyone else left too. It wasn't like he just said.
Yeah, it's not like Pippen was sticking around. He wanted to leave, the year and 2 years before or
right.
something. So
he was trying to get out. He was trying to get more money. Rodman left right away. He went to the Lakers.
Yeah.
Jordan left because he
did
got
Rodman
Jackson
play with
out
Kobe
there.
At the time?
Yeah.
He played with Kobe for a couple of years?
I think it was barely a year.
Okay.
Yeah, he was only there half a season.
Dang.
The Lakers. And he never showed up to practice.
I got to get a vintage Rodman Lakers jersey. How cool
number
would that
73?
be? Yeah, how cool would that be?
Oh,
to just
incredible.
Walk down the street with a Rodman Lakers jersey.
Read about Dennis Rodman on the Lakers. It's so entertaining because that was his Carmen Electra year.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And it's so, he was so checked out of basketball at that point.
Oh, yeah. The dude, absconded to Vegas when he was in Chicago for, for 6 days.
In the championship season.
He lost his mind in probably L.A. It was like, I can't deal with this.
The Lakers stories are great. There's one story where he, forgot his shoes. That was his excuse why he missed practice, because he showed up to the facility without his shoes.
Forgot my shoes.
It's amazing.
Coked
And
out of my mind.
the amount of time, the amount of times he got arrested that year, and, all the parties he was having in his house, the amount of practices he missed. It's amazing. Wow. But he was still grabbing a bunch of rebounds.
I think what's so cool about some of the sports documentaries is that they tell these stories that are not usually told all the time, too.
Yeah.
They kind of dive deep. I watched one on Amazon. It was about women's soccer and how U.S. and the women's game is so vastly, underpaid, how mistreated that they are. It went into a lot of how the Japanese women's team formed, and then how they went up against the U.S., I think in the 2013 or something World Cup, or 15 World Cup or something.
You can make up a year and tell me. I'll believe you.
I think it was
not like I'm going to correct you on that one.
But there's so many of them out there, but that was one that kind of hit home because I'm a huge soccer fan, but it was like, I didn't know that they were so vastly underpaid, or how mistreated they were.
Amazon's got some good documentaries.
They didn't get any support from anybody else. There's a couple other ones about. They did one on the Blues when they won the Stanley Cup too, which was a great documentary.
Yeah.
But they did one on cricket that I was watching not too long ago. I can't remember the name of it, but it's actually a pretty interesting sport if you really hammer home on some of the details, and the origin of it is pretty cool. So there's all these stories out there that need to be told, and they are being told, I think, through an unbiased and kind of an unfiltered lens.
One, sports especially is so in depth, and that's what I like about these documentaries, that it really digs deep into the layers of the sport, or of the athletes, or of the organization, and how the inside organization works. One thing also I like a lot is Hard Knocks.
Yeah.
Every year they do that. I just love, because it's totally unfiltered. I mean, they give you everything, and that's why HBO makes some of the best documentaries too. because you're really getting an inside look. I mean, I know those are also edited, obviously, but you're getting it like a week later. You're getting stuff that happened.
I think that's really cool.
Very
like
recent
time.
and very just raw and unfiltered in emotion. It shows the preparation and the amount, especially for, when people say, oh, these guys are overpaid or they, are pampered or whatever. I love those because it really shows people the amount of work and how hard it is to make a team. And the stress and things like that, the emotional things that you're never going to see unless you're actually on the team. I mean, it's kind of like it gives you a roster spot.
Did you ever watch Last Chance U?
Oh, yeah, I love it.
That's a great documentary, too. And I think that's such a humanized element of these top prospect, football players. But they're troubled kids. They can't figure it out. They can't get it through their minds that, okay, if I really stick to the straight and narrow, I can make it big, and if I work hard, I can do it.
Or the big fish in a little pond type thing, where these kids are so good in high school, and that shows you, okay, well, you want to play college football, like, here's what you got to do. Not everyone can just go be a D1 player.
Wasn't there a documentary like Friday Night Lights or something, too, where it was kind of like Friday Night Lights, but it showcased the high school element of football, not from, like, the troubled kids, but just, like, the whole grand element of
there's a
like
million of
homecoming and going through and the pressure that some of these kids get from having to perform in high school, like freshman, sophomore, in high school. They have to do well, and their parents send them off to
QB1 is one that shows.
That might be the one I'm thinking
them,
about.
But there's so many.
There's a ton of them, but
Friday Night Tykes. I guess you could consider that a documentary.
Yeah.
Well, why not?
I mean, but
that's
like what, Pee-wee though, isn't it? Little League.
Yeah, it's like Pop Warner, like little kids. But I think that also it's a different angle. It kind of shows the coaches and parent angle. Yeah. But I mean, that's an inside look into how these youth organizations are run. And it exposes a lot of the negative parts on, okay, this is what happens when parents get too involved. And this is what happens like when parents are trying to get their kid to
we've talked about
the pros.
A lot of the troubles of youth sports, and go check out our episode Business and Youth Sports. That was like our third or fourth episode we did.
Old school.
That was we went into huge depth about the troubles of youth sports and how politicized and just how focused it is on making money.
And I think that show, it's, I guess like I said, it's weird to call it a documentary because it's a long running show, but
I'd say it's probably documentary form, docudrama or something,
right?
Maybe.
And it gives you that behind the scenes look and shows the problems and shows, okay, what needs to change here because this is what's negative about it.
Well, sports goes kind of way further than just like our everyday, normal real life type of thing. What would be sports and media without mentioning the greatest sports movies of all time too? So I thought it would be fun to kind of regale some of the best sports movies, and I think sports is such a great story in and of its own. When you combine that with Hollywood, it can encapsulate a great drama filled with love and heartbreak and triumph, and I think that's what sells so well.
Are you trying to sell sports movies to me?
I am, yes. That's my pitch. Did it work?
It did.
All right, cool. You're on board. So
you had me at love, triumph, and heartbreak.
There you go. Got to practice my creative writing skills every now and then. So, what's some of your favorite sports movies, Aaron? Do you have any that just be like, oh man, I got to watch that?
Miracle, great movie. Love movie Miracle. Also, being from Minnesota, that's a requirement. You have to love it.
Minnesota.
Old Herb Brooks there.
Oh.
The Rookie, very underrated.
It's a good one.
Great movie. Remember the Titans. Love me some Denzel.
Oh, I love that movie. And whenever that movie is on, I'm just like, okay, I have to watch this. Yeah. And it's never bad. I never get tired of it.
Oh, it's great. Also a story that I'm glad they really stuck to the true story for that one.
Mm-hmm.
And a story that didn't really get to the public until that movie was made.
Yeah.
So.
Strong side, left side. Come on, I still get chills from that, man. That's incredible.
Can't. What are yours?
I really like Coach Carter.
Oh, love that movie.
Coach Carter is really good.
Yeah, that's definitely up there for me.
A League of Their Own with Tom Hanks.
Never seen it.
Great movie.
There's no crying in baseball.
There isn't.
That's the only part I've seen.
It's like the women's.
Madonna's in that movie.
Is she really?
Yeah.
She is in that movie.
And Rosie O'Donnell.
Oh God, man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That's another good one. Longest Yard I really like.
Which one?
The original one.
Ooh, Burt Reynolds.
Not the Adam Sandler one.
I've only seen the Adam Sandler one.
The Adam Sandler one is bad.
And I like it. So I don't want to watch the Burt Reynolds one because I like the Adam.
The
You
Burt
broke
Reynolds
in my nose. I love Little Michael.
The Adam Sandler one is funny.
Oh, no, you admit it. See?
It's funny, but it's like a dumb funny.
Well, yeah. It's not...
I don't know. I wouldn't consider it like a great movie overall.
Did you see the tweets about Tua? I will never be able to say his name. I'm going to say him like Rick Ross.
Tua Tagovailoa.
Have you seen the tweets about the little Hispanic guy from Longest Yard and Tua next to each other?
Yeah.
They look exactly alike.
And
now he's wearing number 1 in the NFL, and that dude wore number 1 at that. That's so funny.
Oh, that's great. Let's see a couple other ones. Field of Dreams.
I've never seen that one.
Bro,
I know.
Gotta watch Field of Dreams.
Is that Kevin Costner?
Yeah, Kevin Costner.
James Earl Jones. If you build it, they will come.
Oh my god, that is so great. It's about family. It's about love. It's the ending. You're crying. It's
I gotta see it.
If you don't
I know all these quotes.
If you don't have some tears at the end of Field of Dreams, you better go see a
I'll
therapist
need to watch that
something. Angels in the Outfield is another good one.
Oh, I love that.
I like
movie.
that one.
That's definitely a movie though I haven't seen in a long time, so it might not be as good as my memories of it. But as a kid, I loved it.
Yeah, great feel good story. Rudy.
Yeah,
Rudy's awesome.
Overrated.
Rudy.
Very, very overrated story, I will say.
Well, it kind of took like the small fish in the big pond, and
also Rudy, like Sean Astin and Rudy. I'm not going to rip on
he did
the
a
real
good job.
Rudy,
I thought it was a good job.
I didn't root for him. He just seemed like a very unrootable character.
Wasn't the real Rudy like much bigger? And because Sean Astin's a small guy, like he's not very
he was
tall.
Pretty small. I don't know his size.
I think Sean Astin's like 5'9" or something. Like, he's super short. So
you're that I felt like the reason I did like Rudy though is it reminded me in high school football because I was a defensive end and I was like 5'10".
So you got to relate to it then. I'm rooting for Rudy.
They never
carried
me off from the shoulders, but
every time I watch that movie,
we went to state. So
did you guys win state?
No.
Oh,
we almost we lost by 2 points and missed out on the game to play in the Metrodome. So we got to play on the St. Cloud State field, which
that's pretty cool.
They're getting rid of the football team, so that's kind of cool. I played on a field that isn't going to exist anymore.
It doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
What could have been.
So, kind of like Rudy, Notre Dame.
Almost, yeah. You ever see a Karate Kid, like the original one?
Oh, long time ago.
Not the
wax
new
on,
one.
Wax off. Not the Jaden Smith one?
Not the Jaden Smith one. Jackie Chan.
Is he in it?
Yeah, Jackie Chan's Mr. Miyagi.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
No, I have not seen that one.
Sweep the leg.
I've seen the original with Ralph Macchio.
Yeah, that's the good one.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
I love that movie.
That's just a classic, like, hokey 80s movie.
What'd you think of Moneyball?
Oh, love it.
Yeah?
Okay, first of all, that is my favorite book of all time. Like, everyone, I don't care if you don't like to read, it's amazing. Okay. I know how it ends, though, because the Twins win in the end of the movie, so I love the ending.
That's the last time the Twins won the series, right?
It was the playoffs.
Sorry.
But,
not the series.
Yeah, no.
When was the last time the Twins won the series?
91, when I was born.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. But, yeah.
Long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
At least they won in my lifetime. I can always
true.
say that. I was a month old, but they won.
They did it.
But no, I like the movie. I will say, though, so I watched the movie and then I read the book. The book is so much better because the book's all true. The movie is very, like, the Jonah Hill character isn't... That's that's a combination of two guys.
Yeah. So I think that's a culprit of, one, you had to dramatize and put the Hollywood stamp on the movie for it to sell.
Yeah.
I think if you don't have Brad Pitt, which, Billy Bean looks nothing like Brad Pitt, obviously.
That bugged me.
Jonah Hill is another character that was like, okay, well, he's a marketable guy. Let's sell him.
Yeah, I think he was supposed to be Sachi Brown, is that it? Or...
Yeah, I think you're right.
The dude who went to the Browns and like tore it apart
like that,
and did terrible. They thought he was going to do great. Couple years ago, he went to the Browns, and everyone's like, "Well, he's the Moneyball guy, so he's going to be great." And then he's just awful. But no, he's him, and then another guy, and they combined with two, which I guess makes sense. And he's like the lovable character in the movie. But the movie's good. But yeah, have you read the book?
I've not read the book.
If you read the book, it's really interesting, and I will warn you, it's going to make you like the movie less, because you're gonna see
I don't
how.
know if I can read the book now.
No, you should. It's
Okay.
super interesting, but like, I wish they would have made the movie a little more true to the book.
Yeah,
You know,
because I did know like after
the
I
movie's
watched
very
the movie,
Disney-fied.
They did like totally go off the rails and be like, oh well, that's not true. That's not true.
Also,
that's
I
not
wish
true.
they would have made it a rated R movie and put like a bunch of cussing and just
that
like,
would have been great.
I mean, just make it way more realistic. Like,
I want to see the fake David Justice in the locker room cussing everybody out or something.
yeah, or like, by the way, did you know he was married to Halle Berry?
No, what he was
Yeah.
married to Halle Berry?
David Justice is married to Halle Berry,
Damn,
like in the '90s, like prime Halle Berry.
good job, David. Dang.
Yeah, crazy.
Props to you.
I know, right? I didn't.
Oh.
That man deserves way more credit
Yeah.
for that.
No wonder his legs were worn out. if you
Yeah,
know what
so
I
there you
mean.
go. Justifying making Moneyball R-rated.
Yeah.
Halle Berry,
Put Halle
and
Berry
David
in it.
Justice, and Halle Berry can play herself, and then also Jeremy Giambi and his strip club ventures.
Oh, yeah.
They bring it up in the movie. Why do we not see scenes of it? They just talk about it all the
PG-13.
time.
I think wasn't it produced by like a
It's
Disney
a Disney
thing?
movie.
Yeah, it's a Disney movie.
So they gotta keep it clean for the kids.
I
But
guess
they
so.
casually drop how he's going to strip clubs. Like, put those scenes. I want to see some Jeremy Giambi party. That would be great.
Man, that would have been
It'd be like Kenny Powers.
Let's start a petition to remake Moneyball for an R-rated flick.
Oh, it'd be so good. Brad Pitt would still do it. He's
He
done
would,
enough
yeah.
R-rated movies.
He would do it too. Did we say Miracle?
Yeah, I did. That
Yeah.
was my first one. Yeah,
Miracle.
Miracle's great.
Awesome movie.
Yep.
Caddyshack. You ever watch Caddyshack?
I did not like Caddyshack.
No, Caddyshack's a cult classic.
No, I didn't like
I
it.
love that.
Not funny.
Noonan.
Very overrated.
Well, we're waiting. Rodney Dangerfield is by absolutely he's amazing in that movie.
Overrated comedian.
Oh my
As good as Kevin James.
Oh,
He does
my
the same thing every time.
God. You know, that's like saying peas is the best vegetable. You know, that's just not true. Like,
Peas is incredible.
oh man, Caddyshack was so good, and you got the little gopher and everything in there.
I
Bill Murray.
I
and
watched it. I love Bill Murray, but I watched it. Didn't laugh once.
Didn't laugh not one time.
Nope.
I don't believe
Nope.
you. Not
Just was
one
like, this
little
is so stupid.
crooked little smile.
I'll watch
or
it again.
smirk.
I'll try it again.
I'm
But
gonna have
I got through it and I was just like, wow, that's a movie everyone likes. I
Dang.
don't know.
Well, don't watch Caddyshack 2 or 3 because those are bad.
So are we gonna count like the stupid spoof movies as sports movies, like Semi-Pro? Because that's a great movie. That movie's
I mean,
hilarious.
yeah. I mean, it's a media influence or sports influence.
That movie
media
also. Hey, I got to shout out
thing.
Semi-Pro.
I don't like semi-pro
right now. Another documentary, and melding this into the movies. Watch Free Spirits. It's another 30 for 30. It's about the Spirits of St. Louis, a team in the 70s,
Oh, okay. I think I've heard of that one. I haven't seen it yet.
which
but-
the owners are still making money on because they signed an amazing TV deal. The NBA is still paying the owners.
oh, that's perfect.
Incredible. But if you watch Semi-Pro, it's stupid, but watch that, you're going to see so many similarities and realize Semi-Pro, they did a lot of stuff right to make fun of the ABA. Like, it was a total ABA spoof that, like, I didn't get the jokes because I never watched the ABA. I'm not 60, and also, like, I just haven't really watched ABA games, like, in general. I'll watch
I don't
old
think I've ever
games.
seen an ABA game in my life. so-
Right, but like if you watch the documentary, you'll laugh watching the which is a serious documentary, because you're going to see so many semi-pro like references and similarities. And you're like, oh, that's why they did that, or that's where they got that from. Like the promotions, like the Russell the Bear promotion. They actually did crazy promotions like that.
Just like a minor league team then.
Oh yeah.
Semi-pro team. So
Oh, they did everything they could to try to get people into these like raggedy, stadiums and just
Good
random
God.
towns. And yeah, it's great.
that's interesting. What about the greatest sports movie of all time and keeping it Michael Jordan related? Space Jam.
I'm
Did you watch
so,
Space Jam?
Oh yeah, of course. Did
you like it?
I grew up in the '90s. Yeah, it's good. It's definitely a movie that it's kind of like that. I was saying about Angels in Outfield.
It's good at the time.
Yeah, you don't want to watch it
We don't know
again
if it
because then you
ages
realize
well.
how it's so cheesy.
Yeah.
And the acting is so bad. But like, it's a good movie. It's a good kids movie. It's fun. I love Muggsy Bogues too, so I'm really happy they put him in it.
They had a lot of good stars in that show.
Yeah, Charles Barkley's in it. Sean Bradley, Patrick Ewing.
Yeah.
Man, they got them all.
Surprised he agreed to do something with Jordan outside of basketball because they hated each other. and Jordan.
Yeah, they probably paid him a ton of money. And it's Jordan. I feel like whatever Jordan says, it goes.
They're remaking Space Jam. They're making
that's what I was gonna say. Of course, LeBron's in it. I don't think I can watch it.
Jordan should make a cameo and just dunk over LeBron or something. But like, this is how we do it in my day.
It's gonna be
He's got the stretchy arm and everything.
It's gonna be like a LeBron commercial. It's basically LeBron trying to be Jordan. Be like, look, I can be funny. It's gonna be
that's
so
all
bad.
of LeBron's career is trying to be Jordan.
Who else is he gonna put in it?
I don't know.
Have they announced?
He'll probably have like rappers or something in it too, because they're so ingrained in the NBA culture now. So you probably see like
got like Drake in it.
Yeah, like Drake
Future.
Or
2 Chainz.
2 Chainz. Who's the other guy though that I'm thinking of? Can't remember his name.
Who do you kids listen to?
Damn kids!
Travis
I don't
Scott?
know hip hop and rap anymore. I'll think of it later.
ASAP Rocky.
Not Childish Gambino. It's whatever. It's not important. So, but they're probably gonna put a bunch of rappers in it. They'll probably have like Shaq and Kenny in it or something. And
speaking of Shaq, and
they should make another Shazam.
Kazam?
Or Kazam, yeah.
That was another movie I don't want to watch again because I liked it as a kid, and I know it's really. I know it's bad.
They should remake Kazam. Kazam 2.
I mean, why not? They've remade a bunch.
Anyway,
they remade The Nut Job. They can remake
true,
any movie.
Yeah.
Uncle Drew.
Oh yeah, good one.
Underrated movie.
Yeah, Kyrie.
Surprisingly decent.
Yeah.
And it's like Space Jam, where they got the stars. They got Shaq and Reggie Miller and Kyrie.
There you go.
Yeah,
I'd like to see another one made for that.
I love the. Is it Cheryl Miller? Isn't she someone's wife in the movie?
I don't know.
Oh.
I don't really pay attention to some of the side characters. So
yeah, I thought she was someone's wife. Maybe I'm wrong. But it's funny. The acting is really good. They're funny. Like they play good characters and they make it light, but it's got a good storyline. They do a good job.
I'd like to see an Uncle Drew then.
Aaron Gordon though, terrible villain. Awful pick as a villain.
Oh.
Why did they pick him as Nick Kroll?
He's a nice guy too.
Funny though as a villain. Nick Kroll's a good choice, but yeah, Aaron Gordon. Come on, they could have picked Ron Artest, man.
They should have made
Rasheed Wallace.
Yeah, or somebody like
I guess they were trying to get more like for the kids though. So like, I don't know. See, the NBA's soft. There's no villains anymore.
Draymond Green, he's an easy villain.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, Draymond Green,
just kick
perfect,
people.
super villain. Yeah, there you go. James Harden will play, the sidekick or something.
Even though, like, he still has no. Oh man, if they would have had like Artest or one of the or Rasheed Wallace, I think would have been perfect
that would have
for
been
that.
A good one, yeah.
Talking trash the whole movie.
Well, I don't know. Maybe Hollywood will remake or do another Uncle Drew, and it'll be like
Uncle Drew 2.
Yeah, Uncle Drew 2.
They'd all be dead. They were so old.
Yeah.
All those guys are like on their deathbeds.
They'll be playing in heaven or whatever, crossing over Jesus or something, I don't know.
No one crosses over Jesus.
Well, that's true. Jesus will
He's
be
a
crossing
lockdown
over
defender.
them. Yeah. He's the one who invented the stretchy arm slam dunk in the first place, so.
In Space Jam.
Yeah. That was actually Jesus.
Hey, how about the villain in Space Jam, like the monster? How about him being like a Jerry Krause?
The Monstars.
That is such
I'm
a
pretty sure that
Jordan
was
thing.
modeled after Jerry Krause.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. Like like what a like Jordan thing to do.
Like, let's make this guy Jerry Krause. Just put him as like a Monstars and everything. And I'm pretty sure the Monstars were like the Pistons or whatever too. They were modeled after the Pistons.
Yeah, right. Yeah, like he had
Last
an Isaiah
Dance,
Thomas
it
one.
all makes
He had a
sense
Bill
now.
Laimbeer one. Yeah.
It all makes sense. Incredible.
They really lost their chance though, man. Rodman was on site. I don't know if you saw that on The Last Dance. They were doing those pickup games. Rodman was on site. Man, he was doing all those dumb movies with Steven Seagal. They should have thrown him on Space Jam.
That's true.
Dennis Rodman in Space Jam.
He would have been too crazy for the movie though. It's a kids movie, okay? The kids would be like, "Who's that, mommy?" Like, don't look at him.
I remember as a kid thinking Dennis Rodman was so cool.
Yeah, the dude marrying himself or something in a wedding dress.
There will never be another one.
There will never be another Dennis Rodman,
Amazing.
thankfully. But if you liked what we talked about in this episode, we want to continue the conversation afterwards. Hit us up on Twitter. We're on YouTube. We're on all the social medias, and let us know what your thoughts are. What's your favorite sports movie? How are you enjoying The Last Dance so far? And do you think sports has influenced media consumption? Let us know your thoughts. tweet at us at Weekendology Pod. We're on YouTube at Weekendology Podcast. If you got any ideas for topics that you want us to cover in the next couple episodes, drop us a line. We'd love to hear from you.
Before we go, what's the next documentary they need to make in sports?
I would say they need to make one on Tiger Woods. I would love to see
kind of like The Last Dance, beginning to end, like
Tiger Woods. Yeah,
considering
that his domination in like the 90s and 2000s
bring in
and everything.
Elin Nordegren to
yep.
tell her side of the story about bashing the car.
Yes, that would prove some drama. And then I'd also love to see his comeback to win the Masters. Makes for primetime viewership. Like it doesn't get better than that. So he's the perfect candidate for the next Last Dance type.
They got to let him finish his career and then make it.
Yeah.
We'll see.
What about you? What do you think?
Man. There's so many. But Baker Mayfield.
Oh,
what a great story.
Check out our last episode on Apple Podcasts where we talk about some crazy new proposed restrictions for bars and restaurants, the return in our mini-series of things changing post-pandemic. We're now part of the Big Red World, so check them out on Twitter at Big Red Social, and their website is bigredworld.org. Don't forget to check out our sponsor as well, Lionfish Promotions. They've got all your promotional and personal protective equipment needs. They're on lionfishpromotions.com. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify, iHeartRadio, everywhere you listen to podcasts. We've got new episodes every Friday. So until then, we'll see you guys next time.